Raise your hand if you are not tired of Draymond Green. Steph, was that a head nod or a finger? Man. Draymond, I admit in that fourth quarter, I expected the redemption. Because, this is par for course with Draymond, right? However, in the past, just when you're ready to write him off, when you're like, we can't deal with this anymore, he's just too distracting and it's just everything, he makes up for it. He hits a big boom, a couple of defensive stops, and you're like, we still need him, man. He still comes through when you need him. Those instances are less and less this year, to the point where it's not even an argument. He's hurting the team. He's hurting the team as a distraction, as a lack of an offensive threat. I mean, we know all these things. These aren't secrets, but it's just coming to a tipping point. I think we can all agree. And last night, listen, for someone who is a self-proclaimed basketball genius, Draymond, you would have thought he would have understood with no Jimmy out there, hey, you're going to have to shoot shots. You're going to have to look at the rim. No. And I have it in today's breakdown. He put so much pressure on the offense early, not even looking at the basket, right? And again, I thought at some point, sometimes it takes a while, but when you need him, he really shows up. But what I saw last night from Draymond was a guy who no longer believes. And you can't blame him for that, right? I mean, how many of y'all believe still, right? It was such a just devastating blow, losing Butler. However, Draymond's game is based off belief. He can't lean back on shot making and skills, right? His game is belief. It's energy. It's I'm going to play harder than you. I want it more than you. When you take that away, and then you look at an aging guy whose body is banged up, a warrior. I understand why his physical liabilities are what they are at this point. That's all understandable with our lack of size. But the belief not there, and then to hijack any chance we had of winning that game when Steph was hot. How many more times can we see this happen? Steph Curry, how many times are you going to allow this to happen? I know it's blasphemous to be critical of Steph or tie this to Steph, but the reality is Steph and Steve, why can't you grab him and get him away? And I thought Brent Barry last night on the telecast just nailed it. Like it's a buildup. It's the way he treats the referees. That's part of the Steph Curry whistle. I know we like to talk about Under Armour and Nike. The reality of it is some of the lack of whistles Steph gets is because of the way Draymond treats the referees. And they have no control of it. They just stand by, watch it happen. It was like a 3-point game in that crash out. And then, we're completely distracted. Steph loses his rhythm and Dallas just runs away with it there in the final 5-6 minutes of that game. We have been getting robbed by the sports books for years. But it's kind of been the only game in town if that's how you wanted to play, right? They're going to take $9 for every $100 you win. How many times will they lock the cash out button during a live event? Could be up to 100 times, right? But it was, again, like if you wanted to play, you had to deal with it. Not anymore. That's why I want to introduce you to Polymarket. It's not a sports book. You're trading on the open market. They never lock the cash out button, and they take 10 cents per $100 won. And I think the real way to take advantage of it is with the live trading. Take advantage of your sports knowledge. Dub Nation, you know when Steph's about to get hot more than anybody else. You see the rhythm in his body, his handle, and it's coming. That's when you buy in on the Warriors, right? Or, for instance, Jimmy's a late game scratch, so the odds drop, but Moses Moody's cooking. That's when you buy in. And so right now you can click the link in the description and use my code Alchemy to start with a $10 deposit and get rolling with Polymarket. 8 threes from Steph. Took advantage of Dwight Powell out there, right? Dwight Powell damn near played 30 minutes. And, Steph always, you heard him after the game. I always have belief when I'm on the floor, as he should. But he needs his road dog to come along at a certain point here, Steph, I think that is kind of the elephant in the room that's not addressed. For those of you that are sick of Kerr, sick of the small ball, sick of Draymond, Who do you think ultimately has the control of this organization? It's Steph Curry. And the same reason that you love him, his loyalty and how generous of a star he is the same reason he's probably not going to have another chance at sniffing an NBA Finals. Because we know he's going to stay loyal to these guys. And again, he's earned the right to do so. But all I hear is, oh, Steph against the world. I feel so sorry for Steph. Listen, if he's got to step in, and I'm not saying that he is making these decisions. He's telling Steve, let's play small. Hey, Dre, no, I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is we all know he's the one that can step in and change things. He could power play Joe, Steve, and Draymond. It's just not who he is. It's just not who he is. Again, I don't want to, it's unfortunate, but like at a certain point here, you're going to go down with Draymond or are you going to say something? And I'm not even saying trade him off, say trade him, but when are you going to step in and give him like a hard line ultimatum? Is that possible? Kuminga gets hurt. He was playing well, man. He was playing well. Again, I try to come at you objectively. There's all these the line in the sand has been drawn. Kuminga camp, Kerr camp, all this stuff. Like he objectively was playing well, and it was really impressive, given that he hadn't even practiced in a month. Right? I really liked. I think for him, because he doesn't have a go-to move yet, but I think when he can face up, take one or two dribbles downhill hard and give you the shoulder bump and step back into the fade, I think that could be kind of his go-to move. When he's at a standstill or he gets his back to the basket and he has to pivot, I'm not sure he has the touch and the high release for that. But you saw the hard shoulder step back, then a Jimmy-like drive where he got downhill and instead of trying to elevate, he jumped into the body and just rode the body into an and one, smiling, right? And then there was a couple of things that he did well. There was a late possession in the quarter. I think it was first quarter. He had the ball and he calls Pods up and he goes, no, Pods, you come on the ball. Let me be the roller. And then Pods skipped it for a corner three. But the point is like that, I hadn't seen that from him. I think Kuminga has had this idea that I'm on the ball and I'm the guy coming on, like using the ball screen. And that to me signaled like maybe he understands I might be more dangerous as a roller at this point in my career. Had a really quick touch pass to Mo for a three. He played well. And then he comes down in transition on that ankle and knee. And when it happened live, I'm not going to lie to you, I was like, bro, you better suck it up and play. You better tough it out. Because I didn't know it was the knee. I thought he just tweaked the ankle. And I'm like, listen, man, half the league has a tweaked ankle at this point in the season. And there's those of you that are going to say, hey, F the organization. If I was Kuminga, I'd pack it up too, even off a tweaked ankle. It goes beyond that. At a certain point, he has to show the rest of the league that he has some toughness and he can play through a tweaked ankle. But you could clearly see in the replay, the knee hyperextends, and the knee's a different story. The knee's a different story. Like ankles, like you tweak an ankle. Again, that happens 3 times a game to players. But the knee is a different story, especially with an athlete of his size and caliber. And so I don't know, man. It's just a doomed year. It's feeling like it's just going to be a doomed year here. And then there was he's getting an MRI. He's not. There's going to be some sort of posturing from the front office as far as trade value. And I'm sure teams, the bottom line is, listen, if you're Brooklyn, if you're Dallas, if you're any team that's Sacramento, if you're interested in Kuminga, you want imaging on that knee at this now. Like it goes without saying. So I'm assuming he did get the MRI. It's what is it? It's 10 o'clock here in Arizona. I haven't heard any information on that. The small ball, man, the small ball. Again, I have a very venomous breakdown of this game, just venting about everything here and talking about Kerr's small ball, trying to think about his logic and why. And so I had a couple of thoughts or theories. One, to me, Moses Moody, right? We use the term wing now, right? Big wing, small wing, guard. Like to me, Moses is a slow 2-guard, right? Kerr sees him as like this 3-4. Kerr sees him, let's simplify it. Kerr sees him as a big wing. And I think we all see him as a small wing. I get he's got a big wingspan and he's strong. He's 6'5", right? And I think when Kerr looks at these lineups, because like last night, Dallas rolls out Dwight Powell at center, Najee Marshall, Cooper Flagg, Max Christie, and who was their fifth? Caleb Martin, right? And Kerr looks at that lineup and says, oh, there's only one big on the floor. It's time to go small, right? But positional size, Caleb Martin 6'7", Cooper Flagg 6'8", Najee Marshall 6'6", Max Christie 6'6". It's not just how many bigs are on the floor. I think he has a blind spot to positional size up and down the lineup because they were big. They just didn't have a bunch of bigs on the floor. And you saw them punish us on the offensive glass all night. And I thought Steph was going to carry us, man. He was hot. He was letting it fly. But the Draymond crash out, I thought, just killed any type of chance. They were completely distracted, and they just let it go on and on and on. Stackhouse, who can grab this man and just get him away? You see Steph's bodyguard trying to. It's like I don't know, man. It's wild. It's super frustrating. Brandon Williams, every time we see him, he destroys us, right? I know he gave us 20, but he broke down our half-court defense all night long. And we had really bad transition defense communicating. Melton, for as good as he's looked lately, he gets lost in transition a lot. I think because he's such a ball hawk, he gets caught watching the ball, and then he turns around to find his, and it's too late. You see that happen often. GP2, that's the issue now as we get more and more depleted with injury. Draymond's clearly not what he's been defensively. If he's going to not look at the rim offensively, it's devastating without Jimmy on the floor, right? But then GP2, he routinely gets beat on the ball now. Like I know he's been serviceable offensively, but the whole gig with GP2 is like, well, he's going to put the clamps on someone like Brandon Williams or someone, but it doesn't even have to be a quick guard like that. GP2 just gets beat on the ball. So now, like his occasional corner three or dunker spot finish, it's not nearly worth it. Guy Santos, I would usually say, well, foul trouble, you know what I mean? He only had one foul, Post continues to struggle, but 4 minutes, you're not going to get out of a shooting slump playing 4 minutes. And so, yeah, man, I think we're all just hoping for some sort of trade, even if it's just a huge gamble like Zion or some, damaged goods. Like, hey, try something at this point, right? And unfortunately, over this weekend, I don't think we're not gonna feel any better, come next week, because this baseball series with Minnesota, they stylistically are already a bad matchup for us. You might as well send Steph on a little golf vacation over the weekend and just rest him for these games. I don't see how we can compete against Minnesota. And I say all this about Draymond and how I know y'all feel this, like it's at this point, like, is it time to just, maybe he's got to just crash out completely for it to get better? Like, as meaning, like, if this continues for another 2 weeks, another 2 or 3 of these incidences, is it like, well, February 5th is the time, but he's not going to get traded, man. He's not going to get traded. But what I'll say is we've been in this spot before with him. And usually there's this redemption game. You're like, he still has it. Like he can lock in. I'm waiting. This Minnesota series would be a great like vintage Draymond couple of games where he's booming threes, he's rotating, he's communicating, he's a good soldier. But I'm not holding my breath. I think it's and I think what compounds the issue, at least for me, is then he gets on his podcast and just runs his mouth. With horrible takes too, horrible takes. Like, I know that's subjective, but it's like he comes out with such a lack of focus. Did you see the pass he threw to Quentin Post there from the sideline there? He has Steph right in front of him. It was maybe the worst conscious pass I've ever seen. It was top 5. And what I mean by conscious is sometimes you say, oh, that was a bad pass, but like a guy was going full speed, or there was a press, there was 5 on the clock, like there was some sort of circumstance that made that person force a bad pass or make a bad pass. That was he looked at Steph, looked around, and was like, you know what? Let me throw this as high as I can in the air to a guy double covered, 40 feet from me. And there were several passes where it was like, dude, you're not focused at all, yet You on your podcast every day giving off hot takes. It's nasty, man. It's nasty. We're all tired of it, bro. We're all tired of it. And our frustration, we don't have as much patience because of where the season sits right now. And again, I don't mean to get on Steph. I know y'all gonna be mad in the comments that I said anything about it. But if you take your dub lenses off and objectively look at it, Steph has enabled this. Steve has enabled this. And at a certain point here, they have to stop, or you have to stop feeling sorry for them when this happens. Is a move going to be made, an aggressive move by the fifth? I don't know, man. But I just want to have a team that is. I just want better vibes, and to have better vibes, if Draymond doesn't believe, everything comes to an end, man. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.
That was embarrassing, and perhaps the best thing that could have happened to the Warriors. If you are of the opinion Golden State needs to go shopping for a new Steph Curry sidekick before the February 5 trade deadline, the Raptors blasted the Warriors 145-127 in San Francisco on Tuesday night in the first signs of what life might be like without Jimmy Butler to anchor the defense. Butler's replacement isn't on the roster. Jonathan Kuminga is back in the fold, and coach Steve Kerr says all is well in their oil v water relationship, but the goal is to parlay Kuminga and draft picks to keep the team competitive enough to fight for a playoff spot this season. The deadline is only 2 weeks out, meaning Kevin Dunleavy Jr. already has his fingers on his screen checking availability and trying to find a meaningful match for Curry. Dunleavy said he's already conferenced with the powers that be, owner Joe Lacob, and Golden State is willing to stack future first-round picks. That's good, because it's the only prayer the Warriors have in getting a better-than-good option in a Warriors uniform. To give up our picks, it's got to be meaningful to get something back. So for that reason, there's only so many players out there that probably warrant putting stuff like that on the table, Dunleavy said this week. But we're looking at everything. Joe Lacob is our owner, so you're always exploring all possibilities, willing to do any type of deal. Butler is the kind of player the Warriors are looking for, an invested veteran with proven production. He was averaging over 20 points per game, and without him, it's Curry for 3 and very little else that screams, "See you in May." If the Warriors are suddenly selling teams a line that Kuminga is a useful and bountiful basket of upside, they're going to run into a wall of overaged yesterday's talent on expiring contracts. We've heard the same LeBron and Giannis rumors and clicked on tempting headlines that marry Curry with Olympic mates, and for now leave those in the sub-reality section. Here are 3 trades the Warriors might be able to pull off with the right amount of future capital on the table. Well, that was embarrassing, and perhaps the best thing that could have happened to the Warriors, if you are of the opinion Golden State needs to go shopping for a new Steph Curry sidekick before the February 5 trade deadline. Chicago makes a lot of sense for Kuminga. He isn't on a fundamentally defined expiring contract because of his $24.5 million option for next season, but the Bulls can absorb it if they offload White. White's contract is up at the end of the season and he's making only $12.9 million. With Josh Giddey soon to return from a 3-week absence related to his injured hamstring, the Bulls could run a towering blend of mix and match wings and guards and further incorporate Ayo Dosunmu. He's already playing bigger minutes with White coming back from a calf injury. What White doesn't help is defense, but the Warriors can make a player-for-player deal that feasibly improves both teams, as the Alex Caruso-Giddey swap did. By throwing Butler back to the Bulls, with his hefty contract and a pick, the Warriors might be able to skim Dosunmu too, but would have to accept a collection of extras to seal this deal. Dosunmu is a sturdy defender and capable slasher with potential in Golden State. A higher price tag and greater potential impact comes from Porter, and the cost could be multiple first-round picks, Butler and Kuminga. The Nets are equipped with enough mix and match contracts to make the numbers game work in the big picture financially. Porter is owed more than $40 million next season and would be a plug-and-play second scorer on Golden State's roster. Harrow, 26, has only one more year on his contract, $33 million in 2026-27, and the Warriors would be a soft landing in a deal Miami likely makes only if they receive pieces the Milwaukee Bucks want in a Giannis deal. Kuminga and draft picks make a lot of sense. Butler went to Marquette, but coming off the ACL tear at more than $50 million next season isn't hugely attractive if the Bucks are entering an extended rebuild. The Golden State Warriors have reportedly not given up on their pursuit of Trey Murphy III, even as the New Orleans Pelicans signal to the league that their 3-and-D wing is not available ahead of the Feb 5 trade deadline. Per insider Evan Sidery, the Warriors' interest in Murphy has only intensified since Jimmy Butler III suffered a season-ending ACL injury on MLK Day. The Warriors continue to covet Trey Murphy III as their dream trade deadline target, Sidery reported via X. Even after Jimmy Butler's torn ACL, Golden State would love to add Murphy into their core. Golden State can offer the Pelicans Jonathan Kuminga, Brandon Podziemski, and multiple first-round picks. Clutch Point's Brett Siegel also reported on Thursday that the Warriors have made several calls to the Pelicans about Murphy this season, and he remains their dream scenario outside of landing a superstar player like Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Pelicans have fielded calls for Murphy from multiple teams, which has led many to believe they simply haven't received their asking price of multiple first-round picks and a young player or two, Siegel wrote. The Warriors have a full arsenal of draft picks that could be utilized for a player like Murphy, and Dunleavy even alluded to such a decision when addressing whether Golden State would sacrifice such valuable assets. Further to Siegel's point, Warriors GM Mike Dunleavy made it clear after Butler's injury that the franchise would be open to moving their draft assets for an impactful player. I think our picks always will be and have been in play, he said. To give up our picks, it's got to be meaningful to get something back. We are looking at everything, Dunleavy stated. I think if we're talking about trading draft picks that will be going out when Steph isn't here, it's going to have to be a player that we think will be here when those picks are going out. And that player is going to have to be pretty impactful. If there is a great player to be had, we got everything in the war chest that we'd be willing to use. An earlier report from Siegel suggested that the Warriors would be willing to part with 2 first-rounders for Murphy, but won't offer such a haul for Brooklyn Nets star Michael Porter Jr., another player they've been strongly linked to. The Warriors will be armed with up to 4 tradable first-rounders if they hold on to all their assets through the February 5 trade deadline. With Antetokounmpo possibly becoming available this offseason, the Warriors front office surely has a lot to ponder. Trey Murphy, on a cap-friendly average salary of $28 million through 2028-29, is tallying a career-high 22.0 points, 6.0 rebounds, and 3.6 assists on 49, 38, 89 shooting splits. Besides being one of the best sharp-shooting wings in the league, he has made huge strides on the defensive end in recent years, emerging as an elite 3-and-D wing.